Okay. All right. So this will be the third part of the learning map assignment. I'm speaking with a colleague about my results and assessing and reflecting on the lesson plan. So the lesson plan that I gave was a literacy lesson plan. They were supposed to learn how to describe the overall structure of the story, including describing how the beginning introduces the story, how the middle introduces how the middle affects the story, how the ending concludes the story.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what I went over. So I'll let you take a look at the learning map. These were the big questions that I had for the class.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll let you see how that, this is the knowledge that I wanted them to gain. And
Okay.
these were the skills that I wanted them to gain or to practice. So from reading that and from watching the videos, is there anything that you think I can improve on, or anything you think I could maybe show them in a different way?
Okay. First of all, I mean, I think you did a great job as far as like, telling the story, showing them the video of what was going on with the story. When you're dealing with, what should be learned, that organization of the sequence, beginning, the middle, and the end, they were really, really well. The only thing that I would probably would have done is I probably would have, like, at the end, I would have asked them, what is the purpose of this story? And since the king wanted to have something that was valuable, that you can buy with money, and then at the end of the story, since he wanted his daughter, which was the valuable one thing, I would probably ask the students, what do you think is the importance of this story, and how can you relate it to something else in life?
Okay.
So I would actually take that story and just that, and then I know that your concept was about sequencing, but even that sequences with the story, I think could have really worked out real well.
Okay.
And then secondly, you in the first video, you pretty much told them what everything was, and then on the second video or the second one, you pretty much you did ask more questions, because on the beginning you said, who is the main character? You let them tell you who the main character, and you said, what was another character that was important but not the main character, and they were giving you answers. In the first one, it was pretty much you giving them the answers,
Right.
and then the second one, at the first part, they were asking you, or you asked them, and then they told you what the answers were. So for me, that participation, that them telling you more, is more than you just telling them,
Right.
Which was like, and then in the third video, when you asked them to come and tell you what was in the beginning, the middle, and the end, if they remember what was the first one, that's pretty much a memorization of what you'd already told them in the first video.
Right.
So as far as what the students were learning, what were they supposed to learn? The sequence. I think it was great that you went over it more and more, and then but as far as getting knowledge from them, I would still question how much knowledge do they have.
Okay.
Because so that's what I would question, because I know and one of the things you asked, who was another person, and then the kid said his sister,
Right.
and you said, no, it was his daughter. So there is like information there that showed that the students really may not have had a handle on the information as well as what you thought they would. And then I know one of the things they've always asked me through the years is, how do you know all the kids learning? How do you know not just the one or two kids that answered your question actually knew that information? That's, for me, that's the only two things I would have done, is had them to give you more answers rather than you telling them the answer.
Okay.
And then the second thing is, I would have actually put it together at the end and say, you know what? Did he get his wish? Why and why not? And then have more coming from them on, what they thought.
Okay.
And then those answers wouldn't be, a lot of the answers may not make sense to you, but you would actually start getting more of a feel of where they're coming from as far as their thinking.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we do. If you look at around the world, places like Finland and Denmark, they have the highest scores and nationally, and the reason they do is because they get more of things coming from the kids, and the kids feel like their opinion really matters, because there's no really right or wrong answer. It's just whatever they feel about it, and then later on, we can through the year, you can actually show the kids through examples that they can figure out what their answers, how their answers were right or wrong at the end of the year.
Right.
So
Okay.
those are really the only thing that I would improve.
Okay.
But a great job though.
Thank you. So that kind of ties into this.
You want me to
They
stop
keep
it?
going.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. That kind of ties into this because this is kind of the results of the assessment that I chose to give them. Kind of they did their sequence charts and I kind of on the bottom I checked them and I put the standard, whether the standard was achieved or whether it wasn't.
Okay.
So I had the majority of the class seemed to understand, but that's kind of the question that I had for you, or that you kind of just told me right now, was is this really an understanding of what they know, or is this what I was repeating to them?
Right.
So for these children who didn't get it, I would ask you, what do you think I could do to maybe reteach it, or to maybe perhaps do it in a different way so that they would understand it more? Because it seemed like the conclusion was the problem. A lot of them were saying that they were talking about him turning things to gold, but they didn't say anything about him turning his daughter back to normal.
Right.
So do you think there's anything I could do maybe differently to hammer home that point of the importance of the conclusion of the
And I
story?
think that's where that statement that I made, to have them to go back and say what is the importance of this, and maybe to give another scenario, but to have the importance of this is that the kids, like for me, as soon as I heard the story, and he said, the king wanted, the king asked to have something that was more valuable that he couldn't buy, gold to me for that story. And I know you didn't write the story,
Right.
but gold to me was not one of those things. I was thinking like love, like, having companionship. I was thinking about, having health, good health.
Right.
These are things that money can't buy. So gold being one of those, I was like kind of iffy on that story with that. When he asked the thing to touch in the gold. So I can understand maybe a kid maybe not being able to come up with here's what the king asked for, and at the end, did the king receive what he really asked for? So that's making the kid, and not you telling them, but you asking them, do you think, or maybe including that at the end, do you agree that the king received or got what he really asked for? That question at the end would have said, that the kids would have to come up with their own idea. What did the king really ask for, and what did he really get? And they'd have to sit in a group and kind of talk about that. And then some kid that may have written the wrong answer would have said, the other kid would have said, no, he asked to get something valuable, and he got his daughter back, and that's valuable. So yeah, the king did turn the daughter back. So that kind of a question, they couldn't have used those answers.
Right.
For that kind of a question.
Right.
So for me, it's always tying things together. Once we teach something, I like always asking something new. It's kind of the same thing as what I did with your daughter the other day. Whenever I asked her, sure, your ABCs, and my sister and her mom or grandmother saying, oh, she can read. I'm thinking, okay, giving her another book to read is really not gonna really show me, because she's already seen that book.
Right.
As if for me to find out whether she can read or not, it depends on how many words she knows.
Right.
So if I can ask her to give me a word for every letter at 5 years old, if she can do that, you have to know how to spell, you have to know how to phonetically say stuff. So for me, I like always asking questions that people don't think about.
Okay.
They can't prepare for it. So, and that's after 35 years of teaching, that's when you really know whether somebody understands something. So to help these people right here in that group, if you'd have asked, if there had been a question, did the king receive what he really wanted, and why?
Okay.
Or how? And then I think that would really, it would have helped the ones that didn't understand that story.
Okay.
To say and say these answers are not answering that question.
Okay. Awesome. And then my last question would just be, I have a large majority, well, not a majority, but I have a large group of ELLs, English language learners. So anything differently you think I could do for them to...
Yeah, one of the things that helped me a lot, because I was teaching the ESL classes when I came to Santa Monica High, and I didn't know any Spanish at all. And so I thought I was going to have to be able to speak Spanish or speak the language. But then I found out that in that class, that not only do I have the people who spoke Spanish, because Santa Monica has so many different demographics. So we had a lot of Asian students who some spoke Chinese, some spoke Japanese, some spoke, French. So I was like, whoa. So they sent me to this class down in LA, and we learned they sent teachers. So it's like 40 of us ELL, ESL teachers in a classroom. And then so my question was to the instructor, is how in the world am I going to be teaching kids when I can't speak their language? And he said, you're not supposed to speak their language. He said, what you want to do is speak in English and have them still learn. So what he did with us teachers is he actually used a language that was archaic now, and that's really not even in use anymore. And he actually taught us a lesson using a language that no one in the classroom understood.
Wow.
And then at the end, he gave us a test on it in English. And all of us scored a 90% or higher on the test when we knew zero of what he actually presented. And then he showed us how to use context clues, how to use facial expressions, how to use different movements to be able to get the kids to understand stuff, even though they don't know the language.
Okay.
So, and it really helped me. So for the 5 years that I taught ESL at Santa Monica High School, I mean, it was like, it made everything so much easier that it's doable. And so I just learned how to use other things other than words to be able to explain something.
Awesome.
So if you were like reading something about, you know, that king, you know, and why the king, let's say you had a kid in the classroom and they didn't understand, you know, the English word love. And you would actually say, you know what, and that king, oh, he really loved his daughter. You know, you know, and then you know, and then whatever, you know, he saw his daughter, and his daughter was turned to gold. Oh, he was like, oh, he was just crying, you know, because he was so sad, you know, with it. So just things like that, really, even if they understand some of the words, and because most of the kids understand some words, but they don't understand all of them.
Right.
So, but you can actually use other types of things to be able to express it with pictures and with the way you talk and the way your voice inflection. And when you're a reader, you're a great reader. So your voice inflection and those type of things could really, really help. And that's what I found out. And the kids really started scoring a lot higher when I started doing that. And you're showing personality too. But that's what I would do with the kids that are learning, you know, ESL, ELL, you know, different kinds of students in your class with different learning modalities. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that pretty much concludes the learning map assignment for part 3. We've reflected on the lesson. I'd like to thank Mr. Murphy for his time.
No, you're more than welcome.
And I appreciate it. Thank you.